Okay, thank you for joining me to take a look at the Adams County website redesign project that I did. So to start off, I wanted to begin with my first digital concept and go from there just to kind of go over and explain my process. So as you can see with this first design, it's just the simple wireframe over here. Coming recently from the app design project that we have just done, that I have just done, I focused a lot on keeping some of those similar elements at the beginning, which is just these boxes or almost kind of buttons with descriptions inside them, which in hindsight now is probably not the best idea for an actual web application, a website. So from here, as you can see, I focus on the concept of making information grouped well, keeping it simple, and here I mentioned that I focused on using the boxes to help with graphics and information grouping and that sort of thing. As you can see, I did that throughout the whole website, keep the continuity up. However, there are just little things that weren't working. Overall, just the whole button idea with the sub-departments, I wasn't keeping in mind the aspect of how a website works. So with the main navigation, you usually have your main sections that you want to go to, and then in those sections you have subsections, which right here you can see I kind of am doing, but I'm not doing it in the right way. And I found that out throughout this whole entire process through just user testing and also continuing doing research. So as you see, I continued off with that idea here. I kept the idea of those boxes with information inside them. I kind of did a little bit of variation out here, putting the information outside. And of course, it still didn't work. I felt like there's just still too much, and to be honest, I just wasn't really feeling like it looked professional. Didn't feel like it was going the right direction. For my user feedback, that also was kind of the reaction and the feedback that I got was that there's just wasn't things working. People overall liked the design. They liked what I had going, but they just overall didn't see any continuity throughout the whole thing. And the navigation, a lot of people said, felt repetitive since we have this up here and these down here as well, which I totally can see. And I didn't really see that at first when I did the initial user testing and received that feedback. So with that, I tried something different. I tried to completely go a different way. I still hanging on to that idea of keeping those subsections on the main screen, hoping that that'd make it easier for individuals to look through. I still using photos off the original website, which wasn't a good idea, as was pointed out. However, from the feedback I hear, I mentioned that I focused more on the visual elements. I'm playing around with the grid. So as you can see, I was focusing more on the visuals, not the information, which this is an information-heavy website, so that shouldn't have been the first thing I focused on. And I think that's why my initial design wasn't working. And a lot of the feedback here is they mentioned maybe using a drop-down menu, some spelling issues. They just wish that there was just more here. They felt that it was very simple and almost too spaced out with all of these pages. And as you can kind of see too, I was focusing, just adding in these visual things. So as I received more and more feedback, I decided to add more visual elements, which wasn't something I should have been focusing on initially. And here I even mentioned that the draft didn't turn out the way I would have liked it compared to the first one. So as you can see in my mind here, I was really feeling the need to just completely change the direction I was going. I knew that there's elements that weren't working. And overall, this design is basically the same with just a few tweaks here and there. So after this part, after getting all that feedback, as you can see, basically at this point I decided I just needed to start back to what the initial project was. I looked back to the original information. I looked back to the original specs of what was needed, the objective, as I have listed here, and I set goals for making the website work, since the ideas I had up to this point just weren't. Overall, this is where the direction I end up going. I looked at this after researching many different popular websites and other websites of counties, and overall I just felt that there's too much repetition going on here. So as you can see, I kind of changed it up, tried to simplify down the navigation, tried to just keep one web page just as a splash page, super simple. Refined different buttons through the different feedback as well, and this is what I ended up with. So this wouldn't have happened, this whole entire change wouldn't have happened without user feedback and without going back and researching and basically going back to the qualifications for this assignment. Most of it was not following information architecture principles and also just basic navigation and design principles. So as I went along, the outcomes I felt that I took away from this assignment was making sure the information was working, doing a lot more feedback and testing with individuals after I had done the redesign, as well as just looking at good examples and looking at those principles that I was kind of missing out on. I did end up feeling better about this final design as I did user testing with it. They also gave really good feedback and felt that it was very easy to navigate, especially having some of the instructors of classes that I've had in college, as well as some peers, take a look at it and navigate the interactive. They definitely saw the improvement and approved of these changes. So overall, thank you for taking a look at the Adams County website redesign that I did. I hope that you like it. Give it a try in the interactive, and we will talk to you guys later.